Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 15 of Shakin Hands. I'm your host, Jack Moran. You can find me on Instagram at Blue Collar Kid. That is Blue Collar KEHD. Today on the podcast, we have Hannah Burke, the founder, maybe owner, we're still trying to figure it out.
Whatever you want to say.
Of HCB Creative.
You got it. Thank you for having me.
A creative agency.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the company.
So I started back 5 years ago. I was mainly videography based, and I was definitely doing a horrible job at that. So I moved on to photography. It's always been a passion of mine. So so now we just specialize in photography and social media management.
When did you decide you were going to be an entrepreneur?
That question can go two ways. When I was like 6 years old, I was selling my
drugs?
School, a little bit similar actually. Really hot pictures of myself when I was 6 years old, and I would sell them to my family. Like, you're welcome. Instead of giving them to your family, I would sell them. And then I would,
oh, for real?
I'm dead ass. And I would be like in Baptist parties and stuff. And like, I would set up a booth. And then I would sell last year's pictures for half off. So, and I was selling them for like $10.
No way.
Like when I was sick, that's a lot of money back then. And I was balling out. And then but when I really figured out I wanted to be an entrepreneur was when I was working in food and bev, and I hated being told what to do. And that kind of continued with school, with anyone telling me what to do. I was like, I cannot physically be in your presence because I cannot stand the way you're talking to me. So I don't want to listen to anyone. So that's when I was like, I need to work for myself. And that kind of built up to having something I was really passionate about and really good at. I thought at the time, and I was like, you know what? I can make some side money and then have a real job, because back then we were taught that you need to have a job right out of college. Like, you need to have something lined up. You need to be this, you need to be that. And I was like, okay, well, I have no idea what I want to do, which led me to be in production. I worked for Fox News, and then, the rest is history.
Okay, so what were the early days like starting your business? Like, what was the mindset and the shift to start your own business, to make that commitment? And then what was that early journey like?
To be honest, I never thought it was in the cards for me to own my own business because I had no money. And I think that back then too, I'm 31 years old, but that we were kind of grown up to be like, you need to be someone's this, or you're a good videographer, so you can do this there, and with no money, it's kind of hard thinking about owning your own business, especially in production where the equipment's really expensive and things like that. So I really enjoyed it to the point where someone was like, hey, like, you have some talent, you should do it on the side. Everything was like, always do it on the side, or you should do photography like as a little gig. I was like, okay, sure. And then once I got into production, I was kind of seeing that all of the other producers were having their own gigs, like videography or something creative copywriting or anything like that. So I was like, oh, I can do that too. And use the equipment that I had given to me from them, and we could use it whenever we wanted to, as long as we were using it for, segments or things like that. And so then once I started getting into that, I was like, oh, I'm making way more money doing this. I'll just start doing it gradually. And I've always been in food and bev. Food and bev has been a part of my life since I was like 13 years old. So I always felt like I could never move on or get away from like one consistent job. And then about a year ago, I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't do both, because I'm working full-time for a restaurant or full-time for someone else. And then I'm also doing my business full-time, because I started getting clients, and then more calls came in and more calls came in. And it was like kind of very overwhelming, but I'm like, I don't want to trust myself enough to have this full-time. And then after that, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna just quit my job and just do this full time. It was really cool. It's been awesome.
So Sam and I were just actually talking on the way over here about how like your past experiences kind of drive your reality like later in life. And obviously you had all these people that were telling you like, it has to be on the side, or you need another job, you need a form of income. How did you separate from those like limiting beliefs that were like not reality?
To be honest, I didn't. I still don't sometimes. People suck, and people genuinely, people in the business world or in competition, they're not supportive, and they don't want to see you. If you're working for them, I've often seen that they don't necessarily want you to be up and on your way. They're kind of selfish in that way, and they want you to stay with you, whether or not be because you're good at your job or because you're not. And with that, I was like, you know what? Like, I learned so much from people being assholes. Like, that's like the only thing, because I never had the confidence in myself. And I think people really use that to their advantage, because I was like, I have something here, but I need to work. And I just felt like that was what I was really good at, was working. And so people kind of used that, and they were like, okay, well, you can do it, yeah, like, I can give you this day off and you can do whatever, So I think that it's honestly people sucking and being horrible, what kind of kept driving me to be my own person.
How do you deal with assholes? I can be a little bit of a people pleaser, and I don't see you being really a people pleaser. How do you...
I feel like I'm not a people pleaser, but I try to understand the other person. Like, I know I'm very self-aware in myself, where it's like, hey, the way you're thinking is like kind of sus. Like, you should probably take a step back and like understand why they're feeling that way. And I think that's really important with working with me too, is that all of my clients know my personality and enjoy, like, if I'm good, I'm good. If we are on a good page, we're on a good page. Like, I treat you like you're my family. But no, I really do. Like, I will go out on the limb for you. Like, I will do whatever it takes to get what you need to be done, even if it's like extra time or a little extra work. But, I think it's all, I don't even know how to sorry, I forgot the question. I kind of went on a little drive. Say it again and I'll continue.
I think I forgot the question too.
I did too. It's like, say it, just like kind of play off that.
Oh, how do you deal with assholes?
Oh, how do I deal with them? How do I deal with assholes? Well, I kind of give it back to them. If they're going to treat me a certain way, why do you think I can't treat you that way? You know what I mean? And I feel like what I finally felt like I made it was when I had someone reach out to me and say, hey, I've heard your name through XYZ, and all of my business is through word of mouth. I'm very strong on that. I think that you need to know who I am in order to work with me. And I think I don't try to play something that I'm not. And I think I got burnt really bad in the beginning of my freelancing with people being horrible and like using me, or telling me, oh no, like one day I'm going to pay you more money, or one day you're going to get more because like we're going to build this together. And I just think that I'm just like, no, I'm no more. Like, you're going to pay me up front, and you're going to pay me in the way that I want to be paid, and you're going to treat me the way I'm going to be treated. And I will do the same for you. Like, the work that you put in for me, I'm going to put in for you. I think that's, at the end of the day, that's what my whole motto is, I guess.
How do you set those boundaries with like a client without coming off like disrespectful?
Disrespectful. I think in the beginning, I try to understand who the person is, right? So I try to understand how they work, how they operate. I want to work with you. It's not that I'm going to go in hard and aggressive, but I do want to work with you, and I do want your business. But at the same time, I have to be able to read you a little bit. And then from there, if you're going to ask for more and then not want to pay me more, like, then I say, okay, like, hey, listen, this is your budget and this is what I'm going to do. And that's it. So it's like, I'm really good at, like, for example, my photography. I have 45 minutes is like my minimal time I'll do. I don't do small packages. I just do 45 minutes because working with me, I'm like, if you're a shy person, you're not going to photograph well. We need to get to know each other a little bit. I'm fast, I'm quick. I'll do my job in the amount of time. But if it needs to go to like an hour and a half, I say, hey, this is your price for this. We're going to sign a contract for this. But if we have to go over because you still want images after that 45-minute time, you will be charged XYZ. And I think that laying that all out there in the very beginning with people, set the expectation, know who you're working with. Like, I always a phone call. Especially with me, always a phone call with me. So I think that set the expectation in the beginning and just say, hey, like, this is how I work. And then if they question that, or if they give me a hard time even in the beginning process, I will cut it down right away. Because I did have a woman in the beginning say, I really can't afford you, but I really like your work. Like, I really want to collab with you. I say, I respect that. I am an entrepreneur, and I work with there is not one client that pays the same amount, because I think that with what I can give to them and my time, we kind of balance out in the beginning saying, hey, we kind of start, I give them a couple of packages to choose from, and then they go, okay, well, I really like this one, but I don't need this. Can I add in this? Absolutely. Like that won't cost as much as that. You know what I mean? So I definitely always do that in the very beginning, but always a phone call. And she has said, hey, like, I want to work with you, I don't have the money, but I want to see what we can do. I said, absolutely. Like, let's have a conversation. We had 3 conversations. They went great. I said, this is what I'll do for you. I'll do what you need me to do, and at the rate that you want me for the first month. And then after that, if you want to continue working with me and like how I work, you're going to have to pay a little bit more. But I want you to make sure that you're comfortable with me. I don't want you to waste your time. If you're really that money conscious, like, let's work together and see how it goes. And then I got this long email. I send like, hey, this is what this shoot's going to look like. This is what the copy is going to look like. This is what this is going to look like before we even get started, just so you know what to expect and like what to be prepared for, because we only have a certain amount of time. And she was like, I don't want you to think that I don't like any of these ideas. Like, after we had like reviewed this and like a couple of times, she's like, I don't want you telling me what to do. I need you to listen to me during the shoot. And that's that. I was like, okay, let's wrap this up. No, because we are collaborating together. That's how we operate. Like, we're working together. You're asking me to work with you. I'm not working for you. Like we're collaborating together. You're asking for my artistic ability. You're asking for my ideas and my vision, and I'm giving it to you. And then you're immediately just like shutting it down. No, go fuck yourself. And so then I was able to say no and be like, all right, no, I'm not doing that. So that was really good. And that was my first time I was ever like, fuck yeah, like, go to hell. Like, I'm not gonna, don't treat me like that. Like, the email was really harsh, and it was like, then I wrote right back. I said, thank you so much for your time, but this is clearly not gonna work out.
So you say like a lot of people suck. What do you think are the key aspects of a good person in your eyes?
That's a great question. I think that getting to know someone does not take a lot of time. It does not take a lot of work. Just understand like, hey, this is the kind of person that you are, and that's it. Like, I just don't like being a good person. To me, it just like, it's maybe because I was in food and bev, so just like, good people, you know what I mean? Like, like the good ones that just work hard and like try to do their best and like try to understand you and like listen to you. Listen. That's one thing I think is really important. Just listen to each other and listen to my ideas. And if you don't like them, then go find someone else. It's like, but don't like, diminish me and my work because you don't want to do it or you don't want to pay for it. You asked me, so just like, let's have a conversation. So that's what I feel like is being a good client, essentially.
We were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right?
Exactly. I mean, yeah, but people clearly don't know how to use either one. It's wild. It's actually wild, people, the way that they treat each other, especially in this business. It's like, I'm all about collaboration, supportive, like each other. Any of my clients can tell you, I've worked with all of them in some way, shape, or form of like, hey, can we just work on this together? Or like, I'm really having a hard time with this. Or like, hey, I really don't like what you did. Can we redo it? Absolutely. Like, let's have a conversation about it and let's listen to each other. And then from there, if I'm still not the right fit or I'm still not doing what you want me to do, sayonara, like, get rid of it,
What advice would you give to someone that's not necessarily the best communicator?
Try harder. Like, you got that's the only way you're going to do well in life is if you communicate. I mean, I over communicate. I'm like, hey, how are you? Just checking in. Like, I mean, even if it's just like, hey, going over this one more time just to make sure, because I didn't do that at first. And I was scared to ask questions, but then if you do it wrong, they're like, why didn't you do this? And I think that having an employee now, I'm like, wait, like, how'd you not get that? It's like, I'm sure, like, they're scared to ask questions, or like if you say it once, I'm not the person, if I say it once, I don't say it again. Like, ask me, because I mumble things and I like go off on a tangent or like whatever I do. I'm like, whoa. So it's like, I gotta ask questions. That's the only way you're gonna succeed is if you communicate, and then communicate all your feelings, all of them. Like, hey, that frustrated me a little bit. That made me really happy. I loved what you did there. I think that with my employee now, I just say, hey, that was amazing work. I love what you did, but can we try it this way next time? And if not, if you still need questions, like, let's talk about it and I can try to explain it in a different way. Easy, done. And then she gets it, and then bada bing, she's the best person ever. It's easy. Communicate. Don't not communicate.
That's really good advice. That's definitely something I could work on within my own business,
Probably.
Communicating with my employees better. What has it been like you said you just hired your first employee. Have there been any challenges that have arisen?
You know what? I
That have come
already know
from
what you
that?
mean. So that's great. Managing. I thought I was a good manager, and like I've managed people before, and I've been a leader and, you know, shifts leader and all these things. But I think with employees, I genuinely want her to be happy, and I want her to feel like she's appreciated, and I want her to do it in a way that I felt that I never was treated. I think that I worked 4 jobs at one point, like to make money in order to support my side gig, you know, and I hated how I was treated. Sometimes I was just like another body in the room, another paycheck, just like do your job. And I never wanted people to feel like they weren't appreciated, because I feel like when I felt appreciated, I wanted to work harder. And I do. I genuinely feel that way. I think that when my clients give me a little bit of like, hey, I loved what you did, I'm like, fuck yes, let's go. Like let's work harder. Like what else can I do for you? And what can I give them a little extra story engagement? This, you know, what can I do extra for them? And I think with her, I was like, hey, like, oh my gosh, you did such a good job. And I would get nervous telling her that she did something wrong. And I was like, wait, no. Like, I have to like take that back, you know, but she's amazing, and she's a fast learner, and she asks questions. I think that was like the initial hard thing to get to know each other's language, and especially me. I mean, as you can see, I'm kind of all over the place. So it's like, be kind of like having a strategic plan for each client. Like I have 14 clients. Like every account is different. Every person needs something different. Every account needs a little bit more of this and a little bit more of that. And because I do all the photography for my clients, that's something different too. Like I offer all the content creation is professionally done. So it's like, you know, I'm like, hey, like this client, it's, you know, it needs to be FDA approved and things like that. So we need to be really careful about our copy. So make sure you do this. And then, you know, it's all of that. So that's been challenging, having her understand, like, and also teaching her those things. Like, how do you teach someone about all the little things that you know about your clients that you knew? So it's like that control as well. Giving her control over my babies is very, very difficult.
It's an interesting perspective. I have a fun question.
Oh, is it that gonna be that fun?
It's gonna be fun. If you could offer any perk to your employees in your employee benefit package, what would it be? It could be anything.
Literally anything.
Anything.
Oh. Okay. Well, the first one would be probably a driver, because I fucking hate when people tell me to go somewhere. I'm like, that's 20 minutes from my house, and you get there and you got to park. Like, I want to give her her own driver named Stan. And Stan comes in a cute hat and drives her ass wherever she needs to go. That would be my perk.
Wow, that's pretty sick. That's a
like
good
her
one.
personal driver. Like, who wouldn't want to get in a Tahoe, fully loaded, some snacks in the back, maybe some water, sparkling water, whatever your preference is, and have someone just drive you everywhere.
Okay, what would be the snacks that you would have in the back?
Done. This is an easy question. Well, first, I would have like some P.F. Chang fried rice, little cups, just always fried rice wherever you go. That would always be like in a little warmer. And then for like snacks, I'd probably have like little chips and queso. But yeah, and again, we'd have like some heated, fully loaded, right? Some Doritos, Cool Ranch, because those are the best, and pretzels.
What drinks?
Poppy. Always Diet Dr. Pepper.
I just got on the Poppy wave. It's pretty fire. It can't be that healthy though and taste that good. I'm
agreed. And she just went through a lawsuit. Oh, rest in peace.
I heard about this.
Oh, she's great though. So it's like
Who is she?
I don't even know, but she's so cute, and her merch is fire. And she always gives out merch to people if she sees something playing. It's happened before, not to me, but to a friend. And I just thought that was really sweet. Like, I feel like I would be like, fuck yeah, you want some Poppy? Give me your address. I'll send you some Poppy.
We got to get her on the podcast.
We got to get her on. If you're out there.
We don't know your name.
We don't know your name. I do know your name, I think. No, I'm not even going to say I'm really bad with the names. I don't even know your name. I kind of forgot it.
It's all good. It's not necessary for the podcast. It's Jack, though.
Hey, Jack.
It's the blue collar kid.
God.
I actually hate that like name, but we rolled with it, so we just got to stick with it. What was my next question? Okay. This is a good question. What unique characteristics about yourself make you successful as an entrepreneur?
Oh my God. I think I'm very outspoken, as if you can't tell. I have a lot of personality, and I'm not scared to hide it. Like, I don't, at this point in my career and my life, I don't care. Like, I am who I am. I work so hard, and I think people would say that's like my best quality of myself, and I hate that answer sometimes. Like, I'm really hardworking, but I am. I kick ass. Like, I do it all, and I've done it all for a very long time, and I think I'll continue to do so until I don't have to. But that's probably my best, along with my personality. I make people feel comfortable, and I think I want people to feel like I've been in the hospitality industry my whole life, and I think making people feel comfortable and at home and like warm. My personality is aggressive, but I'm a very warm person. Like, I can make you feel good, and I want people to know that they're good and that they're loved and that they're appreciated. Like, that's like probably my favorite part about myself, is making people feel that way.
Is that something that you're consciously doing? Like,
all the time. Like, I make sure, like, if I walk into a room and I know you're awkward, it gives me so much joy, because I want to make you feel so good that you're like, I want to hang out with that girl because like she made me feel comfortable and not awkward.
So what's your methodology that you're going through, like, internally? Because this is like really important in my opinion.
It's a really interesting question, because I don't really know the answer to that. You know what it is? I have been unwelcomed so many times in my life. That's what it is. Like, I've always felt out of place, or like I was too much, or like whatever. And I want to make sure that in my head, I'm like so conscious about making sure that people, even if they're weird, if I think that they're weird. I mean, again, who is weird, you know? But if I feel that they're uncomfortable because we're two completely different people, it's on my mind. I'm not doing anything else besides making that person feel welcome and important the second I walk in that door. To me, like, I want them to know, like, hey, you mean a lot to me. Let's like chat and then have a conversation. How
do people respond to that, as opposed to like you just talking about yourself when you walk into a room?
Well, I don't talk about myself. I think I'm a very private person, in the sense of, my close friends know a lot about me, but even then, like, my best friend will be like, I had no idea that happened to you, or like, I had no idea you're doing that, or you felt that way. It's like, you don't need to know that stuff. But it's like, I want to get it out of you, because I want you to feel like you can talk to me if you need to, because I'm a good listener. I mean, I talk a lot, but I am a good listener. So yeah.
Yeah. I think that, and I've read a lot about this, like the psychology of this, but like people really do like serve their own self-interest. It's just like human nature. Like, even somebody who is extremely philanthropic and is like spending all this time donating to charity, like, if you really boil it down, like, they're doing that because it makes them feel good.
100%.
So
100%.
So it's like, if you're conscious of that, it's really powerful, and you can have a lot of influence if you can like play into someone else's ego. And
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just important to me. I mean, that's just, I want to feel that way. And I want to feel that way when I walk into a room or go somewhere, that I'm going out of using my time to go support, or like using my time or effort or finances to like do something else. And I'm like, I want to be appreciated. Feeling appreciated brings me so much joy, because it's like, fuck yeah, like, my hard work that I put in all the time is being seen and being felt. And I want to make sure that everyone that I talk to, I'm around, feels that way as well.
And I can obviously sense that you have really strong confidence, but a lot of people deal with like, or struggle with that. Mm-hmm. How do you, I don't want to say derive confidence, but like, how do you like generate this confidence? How do you like,
well, honestly,
how do you feel good about yourself like every single day? And
that's a really, cause you know what, I'm going to kind of like divvy that question, because comparison will destroy you. It will destroy you. And I think like my number one piece of advice for anyone in the entrepreneur world, please, if someone you're following is in the same category as you, or doing the same niche as you, and you find that you're always comparing yourself to them, delete them, block them, because they're not bringing you anything but pain. And I think that, and for me, I started doing that because I was like, I'm not doing as much as they are, or, oh my God, like they did such a cool collab, like why am I not getting those opportunities? Or I'm seeing stuff from people I used to work for and they're succeeding, and like I don't feel good about myself. And like that was killing me. That was driving me into the ground. I was like, you know what? Like, people like you, people like your work, and they're hiring you for a reason. Like I have these, like I get people like monthly just like reaching out like, hey, I really want to use you for December. Please keep a spot open. It's like, oh, that's so, thank you so much. Like, absolutely, like, no problem. I think it's just like, focus on yourself. Like, just wake up and say, hey, I'm going to do my absolute best to make sure that I am doing what I need to do for myself, for my business, and for my employees. And I think that if you just keep going in that direction, you'll find your confidence.
Do you think social media has a negative effect on
It's the worst thing in the whole entire fucking world. It's actually terrible. Social media destroys lives, but at the same time, it's a great tool to have, especially to market yourself. I need to be better about my own social media because I have all these projects that I've done, but people like don't want to be on social media. That's fine. I respect the hell out of that. But at the same time, it's the way I've gotten so many different people. It's like I've gotten people from all over saying, hey, we're going to be in town. Like, do you mind taking our engagement photos? Or, hey, I've seen that you're starting to do this. Like, and it's like, I don't even really post that much, but it's a great tool to have.
Starting your business, has it been all smooth sailing, or have you had to deal with some struggles?
Oh my God, no. A lot of struggles, actually, like financial struggles a lot, just because I was working. So at the time was never on my side. I felt like I really wanted to have a good balance in my life. I feel like I wanted to be the person that spent all of their time focused on photography, or spent all my time researching marketing strategies and like doing all this shit. And so it started turning into like imposter syndrome. So I'm like, I still want to have a social life. I still want to be able to do things. I still want to be able to travel. Like, traveling's so important to me. Like, I still travel all the time. And I think that's, to me, like, that's like where I find my inspiration, is when I do that stuff. But I couldn't do that because I had my gigs, but then I also had to make sure I was maintaining income and having benefits. I was having my job at Fox 24. Like, I was working at a restaurant to make sure no matter what, I always had that income to support what I really wanted to be doing. So finding a good balance was something that was a huge priority to me. So, but a lot of people won't. I've had people like, or like entrepreneur, like they spend all of their money, all of their time into a business, like their blood, sweat, and tears. And that's awesome. That's great for you. But I think that's why it's taken me a little bit longer to get to where I'm at, which I don't regret at all. I think I'm in a really good place for my age, for where I'm at, for what I'm doing. And I think hiring my first employee was a huge deal to myself. And I was really proud of myself for that. So I think it's just, you got to find what's important to you first. And that's what's like, what makes you balance, what makes you feel good, and then be able to balance that with starting your business as well.
How do you push through those times? Like, as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of times where it feels like the world's caving in on you, and a lot of people turn back. Yeah. How do you push through those adverse moments?
Well, I cry a lot. I cry all the time. Crying's cry. I cry. Yeah, that's probably what I do. And then, and then after I cry, I'll like be like, oh, shut up. Like, fuck you. Like, get yourself together. Like, what are you doing? And then honestly, just find a way to like laugh at yourself a little bit and be like, the social media, you're not curing cancer. Like, you are managing a social media account. Like, everything's going to be okay. And when people get mad about like an accidental post or like a copyright mistake, yeah, those are, like, make sure you fix that. But like, if it's not, I mean, things could be worse,
The pain is short term.
Yeah. Like, there and there, like if I make the mistake, like, I won't make it again, but like, that was my bad, tisk, but like, don't fire me because of that. You know what I mean? So, but you just gotta get through it. Honestly, I had a really bad experience with this is actually a really good story and a lesson learned for all photographers out there. I was just trying so hard to get any gig I could. I was saying yes to every single thing in my life and like every photo shoot, and I was doing it for like $75, like wild, like actually insane as a photographer. And this one family was not very nice, and they're like, hey, we can only afford $50. I'm like, okay. She was 8 months pregnant, had a baby, and her husband was home from the military. And she was like, hey, we did these shoots downtown because we're in town. Like, I mean, wild, like things that you can never repeat again. Did the whole shoot. Great shoot, by the way. I was like, I felt really proud of that work. But then I was so busy and occupied with like so many things going on that like I formatted the card like right before another shoot. Like, I mean, all this shit, right? And I lost all of the images, like all of them. And I had to tell her on Thanksgiving that I don't have your images from your 8-month baby and your husband being home from the military. And that's a mistake I will never make again. And that was probably, of course I gave her all her money, but like, I also, made sure like, hey, anytime you want to shoot again, like you're unlimited supply. She's like, yeah, go fuck her. She was, ripping, as you should, but that learning from like mistakes though, they're kind of a blessing because I've never made one again. I've never made, I mean, and now I'm older. I'm like, I can't make stuff like that. You know, like that was when me starting out, like I can't do that shit like that again, you know, and I haven't.
What's the best way to communicate, not risk, but like tragedy to a client?
Oh God. So
Crisis. That's what
crisis.
Crisis communication.
Again, what I do isn't, you know, saving the world, but I've had a couple of situations where, you know, beg for forgiveness and say, hey, but realize what you've done. Like, don't go in it like, hey, it was the computer. No. Like, it was all my fault. Like, I am the first person to say, I was wrong. My bad. This is how I'm going to fix it. And that's it. Because if you go into it saying, start crying and like, I'm so sorry. Yes, you can feel emotion for that. But like, at the end of the day, it was your fault. So figure it out, find a solution, and get over yourself as well. Because it's like, that was your bad. And I feel like that's with any mistake that you make in life, you own up to it and say, that was my fucking fault. Like, that's my bad. I understand why that's bad. I'll know better for next time. Here's what I'm going to do to fix it, and move on.
So I have another good question from, you were saying before, like, you are big into the work-life balance and you have to define like what drives you. How do you define success?
How? I think anyone would say it's the stuff you have, or, you know, was able to do this. And because I bought my first home in October, and that was a huge deal for me because I did it all. Thank you so much. And I did that all by myself. Everything was by myself. And I was very, very proud of that. And I felt success because that was something I was been wanting for a really long time. And it wasn't about the money. It was more about just like, this is my place and I have my own office and I have my own space. Like, my space is like what I look forward to at the end of the day. And that's what I wanted. Right. So like, I think success is just like a goal that you have achieved. Like, to me, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's like running a marathon, or, you know, you wanted to make sure you read 50 books this year and you did it. Like, that's success. Like, I think that if you work really hard at a goal and you get it, like, that's successful. And I think that's amazing. And I think like I have a ton of goals. I want to travel, you know, a certain amount of countries in the next 5 years. And if I get that out, I will feel just from that successful, you know? So it just depends on who you are. And, but if you have a goal, you work hard at it and do it and succeed. And then you'll feel so good about yourself. So
what are the disciplines in your life that support your success, that are like non-negotiables? Working
out. I struggled since I was a very young child with depression. Like, I was a very depressed child. And to work on that, my goal was to not have to take medication. So I found every other possible way to get around it or to fight it. And working out is the worst thing ever. And I hate working out so much. Like, I really had to wake myself up and say, just get out of bed and do it. But working out has been a savior for me. And like, HIIT classes, like angry, like throwing balls and shit, and like heavy lifting and like loud, annoying music. Like, that's like what gets me hyped and like gets me through it.
Yeah, I think that it does like translate a lot to your work life. Like, not just working out, that's a main one, but like
eating right, sleeping. It's like everyone's like, yeah, like I, you know, had a month. I mean, you had your tea this morning. I'm so happy for you. But like that stuff to me, like I really work hard to make sure like everything I'm ingesting is like, you know, kind of good, or like making sure I'm really active on what I eat and how I eat. And I mean, drinking for me, I was in hospitality. Like, you got drunk every night. I mean, you did. And then Charleston Food and Bev is like so fun, and like, you meet the best people in the whole entire world, and they're your friends forever. And at the same time, it can really put you in a dark place. And I think for me, it was like I was working so hard at all of my jobs, and like that was I was spiraling into like something I didn't want to be. And I want to be successful, and I want people to be able to trust me. And you can't be trusted when you're getting blackout drunk every night at the bars.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, like I think that for me, like working out and like even just like going for a run, right? Like, I'll set the goal for maybe it's 7 miles or something. Yeah. And it's amazing like how on mile 3 or whatever, my mind starts like telling me that you got to stop, and all the excuses for why to stop come up. And I think that the mind quits way before the body.
They do.
And it's the same thing in business. Like your brain is, I call it the little bitch in your head. I got that from one of my mentors. Like you have this little bitch in your head that's going to give you it's like your fight or flight instinct is going to give you a million reasons to go back to comfort. But really, like, it might be justifying in your brain, that little bitch, like that you need to do this, but like in reality, like the mind quits before the body. Like the mind quits before you actually have to. And
100%. Yeah, I have a mentor. Her name's Charlotte Zakarki. She is a phenomenal photographer here in Charleston. And her work is just, something I aspire to be. And the best advice I ever got in my life from her was, she's like, just be a good person, like feel good and just be good, do good. And that's everything else will take care of itself, and it will. And I use that as my life motto. It's like, even when I want to quit or when I want to stop, I'm like, I'm doing too much, or I can't handle all this work, or, I'm so fucking tired and I just want to like not talk to anyone. I'm like, and then if someone, I'm a snippy person. So if like someone pisses me off in the wrong way, I'm like, I want to like fight them. Like, I don't know. It's like weird. Anger management, I guess. But I just was like, hey, like stop. Like just be good to yourself. Like just because like be a good person, like to yourself too. Like give yourself some grace. You're working your ass off and everything will be fine. And it always, genuinely, it always is. Like it really, you gotta fight through some shit, and everyone goes through the struggles. Doesn't matter your background or anything. Everyone has those struggles, whether it be mental, financial, but just know it's going to be okay. And I think that's a good piece of advice for anyone listening. Just everything's going to be okay.
That is really good advice and also true.
Yeah.
I have another fun question that you told me not to ask, but that just made me want to ask it more. What is your biggest business ick?
Oh, okay. I'm going to say my one. I think that if you are a person, a creator, or anyone really, and you're starting your own business, don't lie about how you got going. I think, or got going, or how you started, because I think that's if people are going to look up to you, I think that don't lie about how that started. I think that your journey is, for example, I think that when people talk about, where they came from, and like, that's so important, like your background, like who you were raised by and all these things, but like, don't sit here and say, hey, I only started out with like $100 and I went to the store and I bought all my stuff and I did this, but then yet your car, your rent, your tuition was paid for. Like, don't lie about that stuff. Like be true to yourself. Like be like, hey, no, like, what? I was really supported financially and I was able to like use this little bit of money and turn it into something big. Or like, don't lie. I think that's like the biggest thing for me. It's like when people lie about creators now, it's difficult because everyone's a creator. That's great. I think content creators, influencers, like you're successful for a reason. Like you're catching people's attention. I work with them every day. I love them, but also just be true to yourself. That one's a good one. Or when people don't want to pay, it's like, okay, if you're hiring me to do something, like you're going to pay me. Where it's like, I'll work with you. Like you talk to me, tell me a story about how your cat is dying. You're like, oh my God, we got 50% off, but don't expect a discount from me. Cause then I'm like, no, I'm going to double charge you because fuck you, those are my 2X.
If you want a discount,
tell me your cat.
Have a sick cat.
Have a sick cat named Murphy or something. Cause I love that name.
What other icks make you cringe? Just about people in general, like.
Ooh. Narcissistic people who literally just who like be like, hey, how are you? And they're like, the worst day ever, and then go on like 20 minutes, I'm like, that's cool. And then they cut you off. Or like when you tell something really cool about your day, and then they one-up you. One-uppers are like my arch nemesis.
One-uppers are
the worst. Don't do it. Please don't.
It's tough to like consciously suppress your ego. Like you want to like. Everyone just wants to talk about themselves. No,
for sure. But like, it's also like be like, hey, like, are you cool? Like, how are you doing? And then after I'm done, you be like, oh my God, that's awesome. Like, I had a good day too, because like, I'm so glad you did, whatever. Do something like that. There's a lot of icks that I hate about people though.
That's something that's like really been beneficial in my life, is to realize, I just like have consciously become aware that like, I'll sit there and like ask someone about themselves and see their interest in the conversation, like when they're talking about themselves, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, well this happened to me, and they're like, body language, everything shifts.
Oh yeah.
Like, okay, let's go back to you.
Or they pretend like they don't know you. Oh, I could go off. I'm not one to like go up right away to someone. I'm like a little bit, I'm that way, which is really weird because I'm very outgoing, but like, I see the room, I play the room in the sense of like, I don't want to annoy you. If you're talking to someone, like I'll come up and find you in a minute. Like I'm not going to immediately, at a restaurant, if you see someone sitting down with a group of people, and you know them, like I'm going to give you like a wave. I'm not going to go and interrupt your lunch because I know you. Cause it's like, hey, how are you? You know, like, all right, like go, I'm eating my lunch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, give a okay, like we'll talk later, I'll call you or something like that. Or if you're in a room with a party and like someone you've met 900 times, this happens to me. This is wild. Like happens to me all the time. I go and like, and they're like, I'm like, hi, how are you? Go in for a hug and they reach out their hand like, I'm David or I'm Sam. And I'm like, hey, I know who you are. Okay. I met you 9 times. Like I know who you date. Like I know where you live. Like I've been to your house. Like I think you've given me a ride before. It's like those people, like don't be that person because you suck.
Well, I think like psychologically, a lot of times that comes from like insecurity. Like internally, they're probably thinking like, what if she doesn't remember me?
People, I was like, oh my God, Matilda, hey. And she's like, I'm Matilda. It's like, wait, yeah, you are.
Or maybe they like saw you come in and they weren't like, they didn't have the confidence to go approach you. So then they got to play it off.
Please
like,
never feel that way because I'm probably feeling the same way. So don't do that.
Yeah, I think people like a lot of times these like negative qualities from themselves come from some like, I don't think people like are intentionally like mean.
Yeah.
Or I think it like usually.
Wait, can you give me your ick? What's your ick? I want to hear an ick. I want to hear a good one. Maybe I'll fuel off of it too.
I think like I have a lot of like sales icks.
Ooh. I need to be better at sales.
Just like misconceptions in sales. Like I hate networking events.
Ooh.
Because like people are just like pitching you and it makes you fundamentally uncomfortable. And it's like, you're like, as a salesman, the best salesman in the world, like you can't tell they're a salesman. Wait,
how would you, if you were trying to sell me your, whatever you do, and then how would you approach me about it?
I would identify your pain points and your needs. So you do a needs assessment by asking questions.
Cool.
So like if I go into a sale, I'm not talking about my product or my company at all. I'm going to ask questions to identify what your pain points are. And then if there's a match that I can make, like I'm going to sell to that pain. But more often than not, like by asking those questions, they're going to ask you the questions that they're interested in. So if you are the used car salesman that is just blah, 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 blah about your product, you may not ever identify what I call it a black swan. What is that one piece of info? Because what is a sale? A sale is someone making a change from one thing to another. So to influence that change, you have to identify what is that. People buy off emotion. So what is that like emotion that is going to catalyze them to make that change? You're not going to find that out by talk. You might match up with that and get lucky, but you have a much higher chance of like identifying that that black swan, that key piece of information by asking those questions.
God, you're like a sales king. Oh my God. I'm going to take all my advice from you. I'm going to sales king over here.
So like, and I would just like analyze like your communication style right now, like how you're responding to me. Like I would call that like an ego poke right there. Like you like gassed me up and that feels good.
You feel appreciated?
That feels good.
Feel appreciated with this conversation?
And it's very high level communication. Like a lot of people will go back, like respond to maybe something that I said with like a 1-up and be like, this is my knowledge that I have on this subject, which is in my opinion, like low level communication. You have less influence. Whereas your response is like to make me feel good. And you're going to gain a lot more from that because I'm going to want to continue giving you more information and telling you more about sales, because when I do give you those keys, you make me feel good for doing it. Whereas if you come back with like, this is like, I think important advice for people, because like I see this quite often, especially when I'm trying to like teach someone something, like an employee or something like that. A lot of times their response is to like make me want to feel like they know this already, because they want to feel affirmed that they're intelligent.
Ew.
But that's not really, it's
The little man syndrome, is that like what that's called? Kind of low-key?
well, I don't know if it's little man syndrome, but they like their unconscious response is to feel affirmation, right?
Yeah.
Like you give them knowledge and they want affirmation, so they are like, oh, I know this, but
Yeah.
the smarter, more high level communication thing would be, even if you did know it, would be to like respond grateful to that person, because that response is like, you are basically training me, or you are the behavior in this conversation dynamic is like, when you give me information, which is what you want as an entrepreneur or as just a person in general, more knowledge is power. If you are giving that like response like you did, you are going to influence more that person to give you more.
I'm gonna take that and put that in my pocket for us.
Well, you do it very naturally. And I went on a little bit of a tangent. What were we talking about before? Oh yeah, sales, right?
Yeah. Well, you did that was a really good explanation.
Thank you so much.
Putting that in my pocket.
And then the other piece I would say for sales is like relationship first. So like,
of course.
Most of it is like really not talking about product. It's just like building rapport and like finding where is that commonality between, because people do business with people they like.
Facts. Thank God people like me. And what I do is all about their business, and I have to get to know them and their personality, and that's a lot sometimes, but it's really fun actually, because then you get to know people who know people, and then you get to like, oh my God, and then it's kind of fun actually getting to know everyone and their employees. It's been a really good time.
And it's like interesting that like you aren't, I don't know if you've made that connection between sales and like the things that you have consciously realized in communication and relationships, but like you naturally have these skills that you utilize maybe unconsciously or consciously that are extremely beneficial, and like making someone feel comfortable, making someone feel good, like making it about them is like extremely influential and extremely powerful, and will lead to customers and sales and success.
Right. Pin that one, bitches. Pin it.
That was a tangent.
I know, it was good. That was good though. I was very appreciative. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. So, just to like wrap this up, like what final advice would you give to entrepreneurs, someone that's like just getting started or wants to start the journey of entrepreneurship but is maybe scared too?
I'm gonna give this piece of advice to people who don't feel like they have the financials for it. I think that was my biggest setback in my life, and I think that for what I did was I started small, and I did both. I was able to build my own business while still maintaining something I was comfortable with, and making sure that my finances in that way I was comfy cozy, and I was like still could pay my bills and like have some fun while maintaining my other job. So I think it just work hard. And nowadays people definitely don't want to work, and I don't understand that at all. I really don't. I don't know what you think that you don't have to work for. I don't understand that. It's not like the harder you work, the more you'll get. It's more just like be smart about it. Be smart and get to know people. Be a good person. That's basically what it is. But also, if you don't have the finances, they'll come to you, and if you work hard for them, you'll be able to do both and figure it out.
Great advice. Is there anything that you want to plug, or where can people find you if they want to reach out?
Oh yeah, if you can reach me, my website hcbcreative.com. It's in progress, so just please feel free to email me off of that, or my Instagram is HCB Creative.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun. Thank you.
Well, this concludes this episode of Shakin Hands. My name is Jack Moran. You can find me on Instagram at Blue Collar Kid. That is Blue Collar KEHD. If you like the show and you have any questions or guests that you want to see on, please don't hesitate to reach out. But other than that, tune in next time for some more interesting guests and conversations. Thanks, guys.